Hello and welcome to the Leaders Council podcast with me, Joshua Jackson. As regular listeners will know, this podcast is all about speaking to the people who get up each day and make this country work, putting their teams and clients at the forefront of all they do and showcasing ingenuity and high quality leadership. And today I'm joined by Stuart Dantzic of Caribbean Blinds and the organizer of CBECON. Stuart, welcome onto the show.
Good morning. Hi there.
Thanks for taking the time out of your day. I'm sure it's going to be a really interesting conversation, looking at your particular specialisms and, some of the benefits of the business interruption of the last 18 months. So let's just start. If you wouldn't mind just giving us a bit of background just about yourself, the company and, everything that you do.
Yes, certainly. So the company Caribbean Blinds, we're a second generation family-run manufacturer of external shading. So I run the company now with my brother Brad. My parents retired at the end of 2016, and it's my parents that set the company up as a limited company back in 1987. As a company, we purely specialise in external shading. We don't get involved in any other form of home improvement products, and everything we do is manufactured right here in the UK at our production facility in Sudbury, Suffolk, and installed nationwide by our own teams as well. I've been involved in the business. Well, I grew up around the business, but I've been involved in it full time actually since 2001. And I've done everything literally from sweeping the factory floor to assembling the product, confectioning the materials, and the sales and marketing and admin. It's the sales, marketing, and the business development side, which is my area of expertise, and that's the area of the company that I now look after.
Fantastic. It's always nice when we have people on that have that, family ethos within the company, and we'll come to that as we sort of come through. I've got a couple of questions for you around that, but obviously it's impossible to ignore at the moment the issues of the last, where are we at, 18, 19, 20 months. How's that been? Was there a particular downturn for you at any point, or was it, relatively smooth sailing?
To be honest, other than having to implement certain requirements based on the restrictions, etc., so making sure our team, they were wearing face masks, social distancing, etc., which actually is quite a bit of a problem in itself. Being within the home improvement sector, we've seen a huge upturn, if I'm honest. Whilst we were closed initially for 3 to 4 weeks, when the lockdown first came in, we quickly reopened our manufacture in a COVID-safe environment. And I think month one after reopening, our sales were actually 10% up on the previous year for the same month. And it just was a snowball effect. The biggest challenges we're now facing due to consumer demand and across the board is raw material shortages. That's probably our single biggest headache at the moment. And that's caused by demand for our products, demand for the products to be delivered quickly as well, and demand across the whole home improvement sector for raw materials, including aluminium, fabrics, timber, and so on.
Yeah, that's it's been a pretty perfect storm of chaos on the supply line, hasn't it? When you look at just shutdowns, the general chaos of getting things in and out of the country, then obviously when shipping was shut down because the Suez Canal was blocked, and it's we tend to forget that is still having knock-on effects from supply to available resource. And it's interesting that you do it all yourselves. Do you find that that's actually helped from the manufacturing to the installation to the sale?
Yes, certainly. I mean, from an end user perspective, by dealing direct with us as a single source from survey to design, manufacture, installation, it might not be the cheapest way of doing it for the end customer, but it's the least headache, and it gets them the best end result because we're in control of the entire supply chain. But we also have our retail arm, our trade arm as well. So we have a number of resellers of our product throughout the UK as well, who survey and install our products on our behalf. So they will market our products either under our brand or their own brand. We'll manufacture on their behalf and deliver to them, and they will carry out the installation.
But it's at the moment you're saying you're obviously very busy, up on previous years, and that's great to hear. But are you doing any sort of forward projections at the moment? Are you thinking that this is going to be a continuation, or do you think that there might be a time where it takes that backward step.
I mean, we're certainly predicting for the next 5 years growth year on year, and quite substantial growth actually. I mean, we were always being ambitious with our growth projections and targets, and I think the pandemic has actually fueled that for us. So we're certainly not expecting. I think the big thing for us is everyone's fallen back in love with our homes again. So if we go back to pre-pandemic, you'd go to work Monday to Friday, 8 till 5, 8 till 6, 7 to 6, whatever it may be. You'd come home. You weren't spending as much time in your home. Primarily, you were just sleeping in your home. The pandemic meant we all had to stay at home, whether we were working from home or whatnot. And then people began to do the odd jobs around the properties that they hadn't been done, that had been put off. And one big area was the garden. People were working from home, looking out their gardens, which were typically patio, slab and grass. They couldn't go away abroad. They started investing in their property. And I mean, our marketing said it, and I think consumers would agree. They were creating a slice of paradise in their gardens. They weren't allowed to go out of their own properties, but they were allowed to go into their garden. So their garden was their safe zone, but it could also be their holiday destination. So I think people have fallen back in love with their properties. I also think from a commercial point of view, people are beginning to realise that if I go on holiday for 2 weeks and I spend X amount on a holiday, at the end of the holiday, it's over. If I invest in my home and garden, and I can go in my hot tub, or I can use my outdoor kitchen, or I can sunbathe whenever it's sunny in my garden, which is really nice, a nice ambient, and I invest X into my garden, you'll see that money back if you ever come to sell the property. So I think consumers are getting more savvy that way as well. And I think we've talked about our homes being our castles in the past, and I think that's becoming to the forefront again. I don't see this mindset changing anytime soon, because consumers are still concerned about travelling, and quite rightfully so. Even though we might not have the pandemic under control at the moment, and the majority of people have been vaccinated, it's just in the back of people's minds. What if? Whereas in their homes, their gardens, they know they're safe, and people are really making the most of their homes and gardens. I think they're socialising more with family and friends because they've got a really nice, entertaining space to do it as well. And that's transpired because of the pandemic. And if we hadn't had the pandemic, whilst I still think our sales would be up, etc., I don't think this mindset change would be there. So I think our marketing would be a lot different now to what it actually is.
And I just really like the way that you were expressing the change in people's mindsets about their homes as well. It is right. It is going to be the place that you spend the vast majority of your time outside of wherever it is that people now work. And, making that little slice of paradise, as you say, or that little delightful area that means that you can embrace it. Very much, beneficial for people's health and well-being around their home. But it looks to be a really sort of good future for you, and we'll look forward to seeing that expand.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, I think flexible working as well. You mentioned on people's health and well-being. I think flexible working is helping people's health, well-being, and again, because they're working at home maybe 2 days a week or 3 days a week, and they are going to continue to invest in their properties. I mean, there's been a massive upturn in people having home offices for the obvious reason. They want to get out of the house but still be within the constraints of the house, i.e. in their garden. So I don't see this mindset changing, certainly whilst as businesses, we're in this flexible working culture environment, and that's certainly not going to change anytime soon, especially as many businesses have seen, actually, I can get the same benefit from my employees working from home than working in an office, and there's been some financial savings there as well in terms of overheads on office space.
Well, I think that brings us on nicely. As people know, this isn't just about talking about business. It's also talking about personal styles of leadership. It's talking about individual ways of working and sort of how that's changed. And have you seen that reflection in yourself? Have you seen an adaptation in the way you're sort of leading the company and dealing with staff and helping them to achieve?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, I think the biggest thing, we've always been very flexible as we've been flexible as a company in terms of where some of our employees have childcare issues or need to leave early for a certain reason. But I think it's just made me as a business leader understand, what is the most important thing in life. But actually, our health is the most important thing. And creating a flexible working environment, especially what we do, because you can't manufacture our products from your own home. You need to be in our factory.
Yes.
But trying to create flexibility to allow different stage shifts if people need it, or allow people to start earlier and finish earlier to work around their childcare or work around what their partner or family are doing in terms of in their own businesses. So I think, yeah, in terms of my style and communication, I would say is the biggest thing. And I think that's been from the beginning of the pandemic for us, not just communicating out to end users and our clients what we're doing and also to our supply chain, but really communicating clearly with every one of our team so they know what we're doing, why we're doing it, and involving them in it as well to help us make the right decisions. And by involving them, they feel more a part of the company, they feel more loyal to the company, and they feel valued as well.
And it's really positive that actually this was part of your mindset before all of this happened, that these are already things that you had available. You had that in your mind, making things easy for people. That's one of the most encouraging, sort of things that I've heard, and it's nice to see that it wasn't too much of a sort of culture shock for you to have to sort of embrace that as it stands. But you were talking obviously about your parents having started the company and you having sort of worked your way up from the very sort of, I don't want to say bottom, but from the very bottom. Let's just go with it. Yeah. What was the most challenging role that you've taken on? Is it the leadership, or was it the sweeping the factory floor?
If I'm honest, the leadership role came quite naturally, and I was accepted by the entire team. And I think it's because I was sweeping the factory floor. So I'd done everything from scratch. It's not as if I'd left university, gone to work somewhere else, and then joined the family business in a senior or management role. So I think I was respected within the organisation because I'd done the roles that everyone within the factory had done, within the offices had done as well, and proved my worth, so to speak. So I guess the hardest part, probably is the manual labour, would have been the sweeping the factory floor, the moving boxes around, loading vehicles, stock checking even, because that can be quite mind-numbing at times. But I've done it, so I know when our current team are undertaking stock checks, etc., I try and break it up for them now as well, so it's not just a whole week of solid stock check it up for them, because I know it can be. But yeah, I'd say the hardest was the manual labour element. I won't say I don't like to get my hands dirty, but I do prefer being sat behind a desk or on the phone with someone or on my laptop than I do building the product personally myself.
I can understand that one. Having worked numerous, labour-intensive jobs myself, it's very much, a different mindset. But sometimes it can be nice to get dirty again, and I hope you have that occasion in you as well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm on quite a regular basis now. My installation team do ask me to come along to site with them, so I will take them up on it one day and just sort of throw myself back in the pit, so to speak. Yeah. But it also helps me understand, some of the challenges they face on site now that I might have not faced when I done it 10 plus years ago when I was not fast on site. And I think that's important as well, that I get involved with the team across all the different areas, because that helps us fine tune and finesse processes and applications to make sure we're doing everything as efficiently as possible, as safe as possible, and to make sure as a company we achieve the best bottom line margin as well.
Yeah, and it's so important to understand the company structure all the way through. You can make those small changes that actually make a bigger impact across all areas. But were there any sort of mistakes that you think you've made throughout this time, or things that you'd rather you'd done differently that either are have an amusing tint or potentially more serious?
Yeah, I mean, there's always things I could have done differently and I should have done differently, but I think you learn from your mistakes. I'm a firm believer of that. As long as you're making calculated risks before you do something, if it doesn't pay off, that's fine. At least you've done it, you've tried it, it doesn't work for your business model, and you can try something else. So I remember in 2011 when as a company we wanted to sort of really push out to architects and specifiers and get our products included in them within their schemes. We spent a lot of money on becoming accredited by REBA, doing CPD seminars up and down the country, and we were signed into a deal for 3 years. And I say it's probably the worst money I've ever spent in marketing. But on the flip side, we learned a lot about that marketplace from it, and the way we do what we do today is based on that experience. So even though it was a bad financial decision in terms of the marketing element to it, we learned a lot about our customer base and we adapted based on that. So I think I'm a firm believer of you learn from your mistakes. You need to make mistakes to grow as a business and to grow as an individual as well. And I'm going to carry on making mistakes in the future. Hopefully nothing too serious, but I'm going to carry on making mistakes. learning from them, adapting from them, and as you do, you keep on climbing up the ladder.
Yeah, it's all about embracing that change and realizing that yourself and everybody around you isn't completely perfect, and that needs to happen. But it's quite encouraging from a perspective from yourself that it's not always just about your own company. You are now the organizer for CBECON, which brings in so many different areas and different organizations to help people learn from each other, increase their sales funnels, help with networking. And if you wouldn't mind just letting us know why you decided that was the sort of way forwards.
Yeah, so something I've been wanting to do for a while was how can we help our resellers sell more products, because they are independent companies. But I'd also wanted to do something in terms of giving back to the industry, an industry that I've been involved in now myself for over 20 years. So the purpose of CBECON, just standing for Caribbean Blinds Conference, was to bring together companies from within the shading industry, whether you are one of our partners or you work with one of our competitors, or you just wanted to get involved in the industry. Help them to understand with keynote speakers from hand-chosen organisations about the potential in the marketplace, the opportunities in the marketplace, and how you capitalise on those opportunities. So the conference is really split into three segments. The first is about the opportunity and the size of the marketplace, and we brought in a special data company to talk about how many windows and doors are being installed, because everywhere there's a window and door, there's an opportunity not just for external shading, but for internal shading, which makes up the largest portion of the marketplace. How much are people spending on their garden designs? What are the top products in garden designs in terms of trends? Then we had in companies, specialist companies, talking about how you do SEO, how you do pay-per-click, how you advertise on social media, what your marketing message should be, talking about the importance of an omni-channel marketing approach rather than focusing on one element. And then we finished up the day talking about us as a company and what we were doing in the marketplace moving forward. So, something I wanted to do for a long time. We've done it. We just about pulled it off because 2 or 3 weeks later, the country went into lockdown. And it is being revived next year as well, obviously, because over the past 2 years, we haven't been able to do it, or the past 18, 19 months. But it is coming back again next year. And it's something that we've done. We had amazing feedback. My team done great in terms of helping my vision turn to reality. And it's helped us grow the marketplace, because just by giving people little nuggets of information, if they went away with one bit of information that they implemented, they saw a benefit from it. So it just helped us show our commitment to the marketplace, share our knowledge with the whole marketplace. It did help us grow our sales, yes, because we have more companies sign up with us. It helped our existing dealers sell more product, which was the purpose of it. And it was a fantastic day for everyone, and for networking as well. So different types of dealers in our industry. We're talking about blind companies, landscape, hot tub companies, shop fitters. They all got to mingle and network with each other and talk about how they do different things in their sector. And again, you can pick up ideas from that. So it was a great event, something I've been wanting to do a long time ago. And I finally, plucked up the courage, put together the team behind me. I needed to do it, and we implemented it, pulled it off just before COVID kicked in, and it was a resounding success. And it's something that is returning back in 2022.
It's really encouraging hearing that you're going to be, bringing it back and making sure that these lessons can be learned. I am absolutely sure that there are going to be so many different topics of conversation from the first one to this one, purely based around what's been going on over the past, as we say, the last 18 months. But, it seems to be that, sort of giving back to the community is something that's pretty high on your list. And, it's nice to see that you also support your local football club, AFC Sudbury. And, how's that sort of partnership going?
That's a great partnership. AFC Sudbury as a football club, they're a grassroots club, and they're really here for the community, and that's the reason we wanted to get behind them and support them. In fact, as I speak to you today, they have a match this evening. It's the first round of the FA Cup, which they've managed to make it through to only the second time in the club's history. So we're all getting geared up for that this evening. But as a club, as I say, they're a grassroots club. They're really established in the community and given back to the community. The majority of our workforce is from the Sudbury and surrounding areas, so it was important that we were giving back to the community. And it also helps us from a recruitment point of view, because people know who we are in the community. They know we're an established business. They know we give back to the community. So when we start to advertise our jobs, and over the past 18 months, we've had endless new recruits, it just helps us find the right people as a fit for for our organisation, and people spread the word very quickly when they see our name come up on social media. Yep. You'll find it shared around by a number of the fans of the clubs, and it's then shared around by their friends and so on, and then we end up with a nice pool of CVs to choose from. So I always say, if people are looking at sponsorship, do it for the right reasons. It's got to meet your values, but it's not there to generate business. From my point of view, it's our way of giving back, and it helps us with our recruitment procedure.
And just to let any listeners know, we're recording this on the 5th of November. So by the time it's released, we'll know whether or not the champagne was popped and the celebrations have continued. And, everybody at the Leaders Council is going to be behind you this evening, because it's a great story. And hopefully, that side of progress can go, basically a cup final. But if you're now sort of looking completely to the future, are you going to be, continuing on with the same vein? Are there new projects that you're going to be coming up with, or is it just, sort of consolidate and improve what you can?
So, I mean, we'll always, as a business, always look inwards and improve our processes, etc. But in terms of going forward, a lot of it revolves around product development. And our product development is based on two things: what the consumers need from the product, and also we forward look to the European marketplace, which is ahead of the UK, to try and look at what the trends are going to be that will be filtered into the UK. So we have some exciting new products that we'll be launching next year, or variations of existing products, and that's based on consumer demand and feedback that we've had. Technology plays a big part around that as well, because everyone likes everything convenient. So having your shading system position itself automatically, irrespective of where you are in the country, to make sure your home stays cool, or to make sure there's not too much sun in your eyes when you're sitting outside on your terrace enjoying an evening cocktail, whatever it may be. So technology will be a big focus in terms of our development of our products and where that's going. There's some big advances being made in that field, along with product development as well. We've got a really nice new product that we'll be launching around October next year, which is a variation of one of our existing products. I can't say too much about it, but I think it's going to be proved really, really popular. And also making sure our products remain affordable, doing what we can internally, as I say, to improve our processes, our efficiency, keep our raw material costs down as well, because whilst the raw material shortage, one thing we haven't touched on is how much the cost of raw materials has gone up across the board. So it's, what can we do to help minimise that and keep the products at a realistic and sensible price level without it becoming unattainable to people. But certainly, as a company, we're driven, we're ambitious, we'll never rest on our laurels, so to speak. And I think as a company, you have to be that way. If you just stand still, someone will always overtake you. So you can be at the front of the marketplace now, but if you rest for 18 months or 12 months, someone will take your place. So we need to continue to innovate. So when our competitors start catching up with us, we're already doing the next thing, and keep that going forward.
It sounds to be an incredibly exciting time for you at the company, despite the, as you say, the rising costs and some of those external challenges. But Stuart, it's been absolutely fantastic having you on today. Really interesting hearing not only about your leadership, but your support for the community and support for your staff. And that's exactly what we want to hear from business leaders when they come on. A little bit of the nitty gritty, and when people get down to it. So it'll be really great to have you back on in the future. Hopefully, once this top secret project has been announced, and we can hear about some more of the improvements. But Stuart, thank you ever so much.
Thanks very much for having me on.
Brilliant. Thank you and goodbye.